Imagine the English countryside in the spring of 1943. A nation is locked in the grip of the Second World War. The once serene landscapes are now threaded with the deep anxieties of air raids, rationing, and the ever-present shadow of conflict. In the midst of this global tension, four young boys, Bob Hart, Thomas Willits, Fred Payne, and Robert Farmer, venture into Hagley Wood, a dense, ancient stretch of woodland on the vast Hagley Hall estate in Worcestershire. Their mission is a simple one, a cherished escape from the pressures of wartime life, to forage for birds' eggs. As the boys push deeper into the tangled undergrowth, their search leads them to a truly colossal tree, a great gnarled wych elm, its twisted branches reaching like skeletal fingers towards the sky. Its hollow trunk presents an irresistible challenge, an opening just large enough for one of them to clamber inside, hoping to find a hidden nest. But what he finds is not the promise of new life. Instead, it is the stark, undeniable evidence of death. A human skull, with ragged tufts of brown hair still clinging to the bone, its eye sockets vacant and its jaw agape in a silent scream. The shock is immediate. The boys, realizing the gravity of their discovery and fearing punishment for trespassing, swear themselves to secrecy. But a secret so dark is a heavy burden to bear, and later that evening, the youngest of the group, Tom Willits, confides in his father. By the following day, the quiet woods are swarming with local police. The authorities carefully retrieve not just the skull, but an almost complete human skeleton, artfully concealed within the tree's dark hollow chamber. The remains are dressed in the decaying fragments of dark, shabby clothing. Nearby, they find a single crepe-soled shoe and a plain gold wedding ring.
The bones of one hand are found scattered in the leaf litter some distance from the tree, a detail that could suggest disturbance by animals, or perhaps the final, desperate scrabbling of a person trying to claw their way out. Forensic science, in its wartime infancy, is brought to bear on the case. Professor James Webster, a pathologist from the University of Birmingham, is called to examine the remains. His conclusions paint a grim picture. The victim was a woman, approximately 35 years old. She had been dead for at least 18 months, placing her time of death sometime in the autumn of 1941. The cause of death was sinister and deliberate. A piece of taffeta fabric had been stuffed deep into her mouth, a clear sign of suffocation. Professor Webster noted that the opening of the tree was so narrow that her body must have been placed inside soon after death, before the stiffening of rigor mortis would have made it impossible. The police began the painstaking process of identification. They scoured missing persons reports from across the country, but found no one who matched the woman's profile. Her dental records revealed a highly distinctive feature, a pronounced gap in her lower jaw and a unique dental bridge, but even this powerful clue led nowhere. The mystery only deepened as word of the discovery spread. Who was the unknown woman in the wych elm, and how did she meet such a grisly end in the heart of Worcestershire? The discovery in Hagley Wood was not just the beginning of a murder investigation, it was the birth of one of Britain's most enduring and unsettling unsolved cases. In the 1940s, the world of forensic science was a far cry from the high-tech laboratories of today. Investigators in 1943 lacked the tools we now take for granted. There was no DNA analysis, no digital forensics, no vast computerized databases.
They relied on keen observation, meticulous physical examination, and the foundational principles of pathology. For the police investigating the woman in the Wych Elm, their greatest asset was the expertise of Professor James Webster. He was tasked with making the bones speak, with coaxing a story from the silent remains. His first challenge was to build a profile of the victim. By examining the pelvic bones and the skull, he confidently determined the victim was female. The degree of wear on her teeth and the state of her skeletal development allowed him to estimate her age at around 35. He also concluded she had given birth at least once. These were vital statistics, but they described millions of women in wartime Britain. The investigation needed something unique, a personal marker that could cut through the anonymity. That marker was found in her mouth. The woman's dentistry was notably irregular. She had a crooked set of lower teeth,
a feature so distinct that any dentist who had worked on her would surely remember it. Police diligently circulated the details of her dental work to every dental practice in the country, hoping for a match. It was a monumental undertaking in an era of paper records and wartime disruption. Despite their exhaustive efforts, the search came up empty. Not a single dentist came forward to identify her. The few possessions found with the body offered little more. The fragments of her clothing were of poor quality, suggesting she was not a woman of wealth. Her shoe was practical, not fashionable. The gold wedding ring was plain and untraceable. These items painted a picture of an ordinary woman, yet her final resting place was anything but. The police were left with a frustrating paradox, a victim with a highly identifiable physical trait who remained stubbornly, impossibly anonymous.
The limitations of the era, compounded by the chaos of war, meant that every promising lead seemed to dissolve into a dead end, leaving investigators with a skeleton, a location, and a growing list of unanswered questions. With no name and no face, investigators were forced to piece together a life from the few meager clues left behind. These silent witnesses, scraps of fabric, a worn-out shoe, a simple ring, were all that remained of her identity. Each item was scrutinized, not just for what it was, but for what it might say about the woman who wore it. The fragments of her clothing, a skirt and a cardigan, were made of dark, low-quality material. This suggested she was a person of modest means, leaving a life far from the glamour and privilege of the nearby Hagley Hall estate. The single shoe, with its crepe rubber sole, was another piece of the puzzle. It was a practical, comfortable style, common at the time, but finding only one raised disturbing questions. Was the other lost in a struggle, or had it been taken by her killer? Like so many details in this case, it offered a hint of a story, but no clear narrative. Then there was the wedding ring, a simple, unadorned gold band. It implied she was married, or at least had been, yet no husband had reported her missing. In the turmoil of war, with men stationed overseas and families displaced, it was possible her absence went unnoticed, or perhaps her marital status was another dead end, a part of a life she had left behind. While not a confirmed part of the official police report, whispers and local folklore have long suggested the woman may have had a tattoo. This detail, though unverified, adds another layer of intrigue, hinting at a personality or a past that defied the image of a simple, unassuming woman. Tattoos in the 1940s were far less common than today, often associated with specific subcultures, like sailors, soldiers, or circus performers.
If she did have one, it would have been a powerful clue, a personal symbol that could have unlocked her identity, but like so many aspects of her story, it remains in the realm of speculation. Ultimately, the most powerful clue remained her distinctive teeth. This was the only identifier that was entirely unique to her, a biological signature that should have led directly to her name. The fact that it didn't is perhaps the most baffling part of the entire investigation. It suggests she was a stranger to the area, or perhaps someone living on the margins of society, disconnected from the official records of the day. The fragments of her identity, scattered in a hollow tree, offered just enough information to create a ghost, but not enough to give her back her name. For decades, a single, chilling question has echoed across the English Midlands, a piece of graffiti that has become as famous as the crime itself. Scrawled in stark white paint on brick walls, railway bridges, and ancient monuments, the phrase is simple, direct, and haunting. Who put Bella in the Wych Elm? This is not mere vandalism. It is the enduring voice of an unsolved mystery, a public demand for answers that has haunted the region since the 1940s. The first message appeared in December of 1943, just months after the body was discovered. On a wall in Upper Dean Street, Birmingham, someone painted the words, "Who put Lubella down the Wych Elm, Hagley Wood?" Over the following months and years, similar inscriptions began to appear, the wording slowly evolving into its now iconic form. The messages spread, appearing on walls and train stations, each one a ghostly reminder of the woman left in the woods. The name Bella stuck, giving a name to the nameless victim and cementing her place in local folklore. The persistence of the graffiti is what makes it so extraordinary. As the years turned into decades, new versions of the question would surface.
The most famous example appeared on the Wychbury Obelisk, a towering monument on a hill not far from the crime scene. Despite repeated attempts by authorities to clean the graffiti, it always returned,
as if an unseen hand was determined that the mystery should not be forgotten. As recently as the 1990s, fresh versions of the phrase were still being discovered, always asking the same question, never offering an answer. But who was behind the messages? The identity of the original graffiti artist remains as elusive as Bella herself. Some speculate it was someone with inside knowledge of the crime, perhaps even the killer, taunting the police and the public with their ghastly secret. Others believe it was simply a curious local, or a series of copycats, captivated by the story and determined to keep it in the public consciousness. Whatever the origin, the phrase took on a life of its own. It became a whispered legend among schoolchildren, a staple of true crime documentaries, and a topic of endless debate in pubs and homes across the Midlands. The graffiti transformed the case from a local police matter into a national legend, ensuring that as long as the question was visible, Bella would never truly be gone. In the absence of facts, speculation thrives. Over the 80 years since her discovery, the mystery of Bella in the Wych Elm has become a breeding ground for countless theories, ranging from the plausible to the profoundly strange. These theories weave together threads of espionage, witchcraft, and dark local secrets, each attempting to explain the inexplicable. Perhaps the most sensational theory is rooted in the occult. Shortly after the discovery, the anthropologist and archaeologist Margaret Murray proposed a chilling explanation. Bella was the victim of a witchcraft ritual. She pointed to the scattered hand bones as evidence of a hand of glory, a gruesome occult artifact made from the severed hand of a hanged man.
In this theory, Bella was sacrificed by a local coven in a dark ceremony. While this idea captured the public imagination, police found no concrete evidence of any ritualistic activity at the scene. A more grounded, yet equally dramatic, points to the shadowy world of wartime espionage. In 1953, a woman calling herself Anna of Claverley wrote to a local newspaper with a detailed story. She claimed Bella was part of a Nazi spy ring operating in the Midlands. According to Anna, Bella was a Dutch woman who had arrived illegally in England and was working with a British officer and a music hall performer to pass information to the Germans. When Bella became a liability, she was murdered by her co-conspirators and hidden in the tree. This theory gained significant traction when declassified MI5 files revealed the story of Josef Jakobs, a German spy captured in 1941. Jakobs had a photograph of a German cabaret singer named Clara Bauerle on him when he was arrested. He claimed she was his lover and was also a spy, due to be sent to England after him. Clara Bauerle, who performed under the stage name Clara Bella, bore a resemblance to reconstructions of the victim and disappeared around the same time Bella was believed to have died. However, against these grand theories of spies and sorcery lies the possibility of a simpler, darker truth. Many believe Bella was a local woman, perhaps a prostitute or a Romani traveler, who fell victim to a violent crime. Over the years, several confessions have emerged. In one, a man claimed his cousin had confessed to the murder after a drunken argument. In another, the son of a local man reported that his father had forced him to help place the woman's body in the tree. Most compellingly, MI5 files from the war mention a statement from Una Mossop, who claimed her ex-husband, Jack Mossop, confessed to the murder.
According to her, Jack and a Dutchman named Van Ralt had been drinking with a woman who passed out. They put her in the tree, hoping to frighten her. Jack was later confined to a mental hospital, where he was haunted by nightmares of a woman's skull staring at him from inside a tree. He died before he could be properly questioned. Each theory opens a new door, but each one ultimately leads to another hallway of unanswered questions, leaving the true identity and fate of Bella shrouded in mystery. 80 years have passed, yet the shadow of the Wych Elm in Hagley Wood still lingers. The case of Bella remains one of Britain's most profound unsolved mysteries, a story that has transcended its origins as a grim wartime discovery to become a cornerstone of national folklore. The enduring power of the mystery lies in its perfect, unsettling ambiguity. Every clue seems to lead only to more questions. Every theory is compelling yet unprovable. The wartime setting provides a backdrop of chaos and secrecy, a time when people could disappear without a trace, their absence swallowed by the larger tragedy of global conflict. The lack of a definitive identity for the victim is the heart of the enigma. Without a name, she cannot be laid to rest. She remains a ghost, forever defined not by her life, but by the gruesome nature of her death and her bizarre tomb. She is not a person, but a question. Who put Bella in the Wych Elm? That question, immortalized in graffiti, has ensured her story will not be forgotten. It has been the subject of books, documentaries, and podcasts, each new telling drawing in another generation of amateur sleuths, all hoping to be the one to finally solve the puzzle. The cultural legacy of Bella is a testament to our collective fascination with the unknown. The story contains all the elements of a classic Gothic tale: a dark wood, a hidden body, whispers of witchcraft and espionage. It speaks to our deepest fears about the secrets that can lie hidden just beneath the surface of a quiet rural landscape. Whether she was a spy, a victim of an occult ritual, or simply an unfortunate woman who crossed paths with the wrong person, her story has become a permanent part of the British identity. And so the mystery endures. The bones have long since disappeared from police evidence, and most of those originally involved in the case are now gone. All that remains is the story, and the chilling question that continues to be asked, echoing through the decades. A question that hangs in the air, as silent and as haunting as the empty sockets of the skull found so long ago in the hollow of a wych elm.